Minister, Andrew Rosindell.
Thank you, Sir Roger. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship, especially today. Thank you for saving the day and for turning up to chair this very important debate. And I also would like to commend my honourable friend, the member for Strangford, for his characteristic and noble fashion, which is something we've grown to expect from the honourable member, in bringing another vital debate before the House this afternoon. I'd also like to commend other members that have contributed to the debate this afternoon, including the Honourable Lady for Newport West, who always speaks with passion and principle, and she gave examples of how exploitation is taking place today in Pakistan as children and women and vulnerable people. She's right to highlight that, and she said that we cannot stay silent on slavery, and she is absolutely right. And Britain needs to have a voice on this issue. And she's also right in saying that the aid, the UK aid that we provide for Pakistan, there should be a link to that and dealing with this atrocious issue that we're debating today and getting rid of modern-day slavery in that country. And also commend the Liberal Democrat spokesman. The Honourable Lady spoke about the Ahmadi Muslims. I've spoken about that myself and the way they are treated, and she's absolutely right that this is another area that needs to be highlighted and to support that community. And she also said that Britain's voice matters, and absolutely it does. And we should use that voice strongly and clearly against the kind of persecution and ill treatment that we've been discussing this afternoon. So I thank her for her comments. So, Sir Roger, modern slavery is, I believe, one of the greatest moral outrages of our time. More than 50 million people are estimated to be under the yoke of slavery across the world, more than at any point in human history. It is a sobering truth that while we in Britain debate our country's historic involvement in slavery, millions of men and women and children are being born, sold and trapped into slavery today. Sir Roger, Pakistan is a Commonwealth partner and a friend of the United Kingdom. It's only 70 years ago that we shared the same head of state, Queen Elizabeth II. Yet I believe it's because of this close connection that Britain can, I think, raise and ultimately assist eradicating the concerns that we are debating in this chamber today. According to the Global Slavery Index, 2.3 million people are living in modern slavery in Pakistan, making it one of the top 20 worst affected nations in the world. Around 10 or 11 in every 1,000 people are enslaved. That's an outrage. To contextualise this, throughout the entire 200-year period where Britain was involved in the transatlantic slave trade, 3.4 million people were taken from Africa to the New World. In Pakistan today, 67% of that number are currently living in the form of modern slavery. As we have heard this afternoon, Sir Roger, the brick kilns of Pakistan are perhaps the clearest example. There are more than 20,000 kilns across the country, employing up to 3 million workers, many of whom are trapped in bonded labour, with entire families working 14 to 16 hours a day in suffocating heat and toxic fumes to pay off debts that can never actually be repaid. These debts are generational debts of forced labour, passed from parents to children, binding generation after generation to endured servitude in many of these kilns. Workers are paid barely enough to survive, let alone escape. Children, some as young as 5, mould bricks alongside their parents. Women, often from minority faith backgrounds, face harassment, violence and sexual abuse from their employers. The majority of brick kiln workers from Pakistan's poorest, least educated, and too often religious minorities, including Christians and Hindus, who are disproportionately affected by this. Many of these families are lured into bondage by loans taken as a last resort to pay for food, medical bills and dowries. Illiteracy also means that they rarely understand the exploitative interest rates or false records maintained by their employers. And because of their debts and recorded informally and arbitrarily, they are effectively impossible to contest. And unfortunately, these workers are invisible to the state. And so Pakistan passed the Bonded Labour System Abolition Act in 1992, as has already been referred to. Yet over 3 decades later, enforcement appears to be sporadic and ineffective. In the last Parliament, the APPG for Pakistani minorities, chaired by my honourable friend, the member for Strangford, rightly said that successive governments have lacked the political will or capacity to enforce the law. The same report recommended that His Majesty's government use its aid budget to strengthen monitoring and compliance within international labour organisation standards, and even earmark £500,000 to hire brick kiln inspectors to carry out unannounced visits. Now, the aid budget may be controversial topic at the present time, but if we are to spend money on development aid, surely, I say to the Minister, we should be taking up the mantle of our forefathers in taking the fight to slavery. So, may I ask the Minister, when she replies, will the government support the creation of a dedicated UK-funded inspection mechanism for Pakistan's brick kilns? Will the FCDO consider conditioning aid on a measurable progress in tackling bonded labour? And will the Department for Business, Trade and Trade issue clearer guidance to UK firms about the risk of slavery in supply chains linked to Pakistan's construction sector? While Pakistan is a particular focus today, it is far from unique, I'm sad to say, Sir Roger, across Asia, Africa, and shockingly, even cases across Europe. There are forced labour, human trafficking and child exploitation. These still persist. The ILO estimates that forced labour generates $236 billion in illegal profits every year, which in state terms is roughly the size of the Portuguese, Czech or Greek economies. So it's huge. As I have already alluded to, this is also very much a problem for the United Kingdom. British consumers unknowingly buy goods produced through forced labour in a range of areas, from fashion, electronics, seafood and construction materials. And so, will the Minister outline what steps are being taken to update, reform and strengthen the Modern Slavery Act? And does the government agree that development aid must be conditional on efforts taken by recipients of aid in their record tackling modern-day slavery? Sir Roger, this House must not be shy away from the fact that our nation has been the ultimate force for good in the world. We should speak proudly of Britain's historic role in abolishing the slave trade, not apologise for it. It was this country that led the world, at great cost, to suppress the slave trade in the 19th century. The Royal Navy's West Africa Squadron rescued tens of thousands of enslaved Africans from ships flying other nations' flags and policed its eradication across the seas. Yet today, the same voices that denounce our ancestors for slavery's past, a trade unfortunately something that predates civilization as we know it today, too often turned a blind eye to slavery's present, as we've discussed in this debate. They are quick to pull down statues, yet, I'm afraid, slow to stand up for the children working in brick kilns, in mines and in sweatshops. It is easy to virtual signal about history. It is harder to confront the uncomfortable truth that slavery continues today in countries we trade with, partner with and fund, let alone a Commonwealth nation such as Pakistan. We should not therefore indulge in moral self-flagellation, but to lead once again in the cause of abolition. The UK should prioritise anti-slavery measures in all development programmes in Pakistan, support NGOs providing legal aid, education and rehabilitation to bonded labourers, push for digital registration of all brick kiln workers to bring them within the formal economy, and champion the global partnerships to eradicate slavery by 2030. And so can I suggest to the Minister that the FCDO publish an annual report on progress made against modern slavery globally. And I must emphasise that the UK should once again lead internationally, as we did 2 centuries ago, to ensure that every human can live in freedom. Sir Roger, modern slavery is shamefully not a relic of the past. It very much remains as a stain on our present. The children in Pakistan's brick kilns deserve the same rights, the same dignity and the same hope that we take for granted here in these islands. The Britain I know and love stands for freedom, for individual liberty, and is wholesale against oppression, whether that comes in the form of the state or the corporation. If we are to influence affairs abroad, there is no finer crusade than the moral crusade to unchain children and their mothers and their fathers from a life spent in forced labour and exploitation. Sir Roger, Britain must lead this cause, just as we did before.